I've been thinking about some Tom Cruise comments. Tom Cruise had talked about how ridiculous psychiatry was. Tom Cruise had said that psychiatry wasn't a real thing and that the drugs they were giving to kids was just to mask the problem. And he wanted to live to a greater ideal of life. Now, I don't know about this Ron Hubbard guy. Perhaps he got a bad diagnosis one time from a psychiatrist and then just created an organization all around it, because there is something to be said about what Ron Hubbard is talking about. Psychiatry I believe there are clinically, insane people, clinically depressed, clinically whatever, and you need, people to intervene and to talk on the other person's behalf. I also believe that a lot of the issues that our society goes through, can be explained by just easily saying that person's crazy, and then you get to go on with your life. Now, I got one example. There's capitalism. There's the idea that you have to sell your services in order to get a job, so you got to be oppressed in some type of way. Eventually, your house payment's going to come up. So, just your economics creates a certain degree of anxiety. But frankly, I feel like nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. Either you're too busy with your own lives to give a shit, or you're not able to do anything. What can you do? I remember there was this guy, and I've been thinking about him actually for quite a bit, but he had got on Twitter, posted about a kid, 10 years old or something, and posted about 1,000 posts for weeks, talking about him being depressed and nobody giving a crap and no one caring, a clear cry for help, and then he killed himself. So he had told everybody that he was sad, that he needed help, and no one gave a shit. Nobody cared. And so I think when you have a situation such as that, a cold-hearted society, dog-eat-dog society, where it's based on wealth, prestige, status, that those elements all combined, I think that's the main reason why people, like homeless people, care, they don't want to see homeless people homeless. But it's not, is it on each individual that walks by? And it's on us as a society. And so we could look at that guy who's, I don't know what his issues were, the guy on Twitter posting 1,000 posts. 1,000 posts, day in, day out. Something is wrong, something is happening, I need some help, how come nobody cares? And nobody cared. Nobody thought to favorite the status, to like the status, to call the kid, to see how he is. Nobody cared. So we could say, well, there's something wrong with that kid for him to go to a psychiatric office. It's more indicative of the society that he comes out of. So instead of putting him in some sort of office and then telling him that he's got some sort of mental disorder where he feels the need to belong, he wants to be part of a group. Well, clearly he's suffering from dependency disorder. He has a dependency, he needs other people. Well, we're social animals. In fact, Nelson Mandela's wife, Winnie Mandela, had said that the only thing worse than fear was loneliness. And that's huge. Winnie Mandela was a very respectable woman. She stood by Nelson Mandela when he was in prison for 27 years. And she didn't stand by him because she couldn't stand by him, but she kept the affairs, the house in order. She even spent time in prison herself. And she was defiant, and she was strong. Now, there's an operational defiant disorder. There's actually lots of things. When I think about, I took recently, because of my interactions with Spalding University, I've had about 12 court cases in Louisville that I've had to go to. Half of them have been continued. They've been wasting my time the entire time. I've been called for a trial. My lawyer, my court-appointed lawyer, has been telling me to, no, I don't really want to do a whole trial. Just, do what they say. Just plea bargain out. And so I had to take a crazy test. I had to take a psychiatry test, and it was humiliating. It's embarrassing. It's bullshit. But when I think about L. Ron Hubbard, perhaps he did get a bad diagnosis. Perhaps he got somebody, you know, if you looked at that kid who was telling the world that nobody loves him, no one gave a shit. If we were to sit there and put him, you know, like a lab rat, and then 3 scientists just with their arms crossed, just looking him up and down, you know, trying to diagnose him, try to say that he's got some sort of thing that we could fix, and here's how we could fix it. We ignore that we're part of that picture. We ignore that we're sitting there with our arms crossed, looking at him, trying to say, well, what's wrong with him, instead of saying, well, what's wrong with us? So that's instead of trying to diagnose that kid who just wants to be loved, because that's a human. He has human nature. He breathes and exists and wants to feel the warmth of another person, wants to feel close, wants to be in touch with humanity. Homophobia, I read this one article, said it has robbed men of their touch. Homophobia has robbed men of everything, really. Those who are most homophobic are the most turned on by gay porn, so they're the gayest people out here. In addition, they're, you know, sort of, that's a mental delusion there. That mental delusion that they hate all gay people even though they secretly love gay porn affects everybody. If people don't believe what they're saying, if they don't go along with their bigotry, then, you know, they have issues. And so, okay, I'm getting off. Gay used to be a disorder. Being a homosexual was considered a disorder. I've noticed that too. A lot of these disorders comes from one manual, and they come from some diagnostics and something manual. DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. And there's 5 of them. Every new edition that comes out is like big news. I actually have a list of disorders here that I was going to run down. But I just want to make my quick point that instead of saying, well, what's wrong with this kid that's wanting to feel like a human being, and be in touch with society and other people and to feel a bigger purpose, we should wonder how come nobody gave a shit. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of, you know, school officials, counselors, parents, neighbors, his peers, doctors. It's a lot of people that read or knew about it and didn't give a shit. There's a lot of people going through this kid's life and it didn't go anywhere. So instead of saying that there's something wrong with him, he's got personality disorder, perhaps we're the ones with the personality disorder. When I think of disorders, in fact, one of the biggest ones, I think a lot of people are psychopaths. They have no anxiety, and they feel no empathy. They don't care about other people. It's also narcissistic, very selfish, and that's a disorder too. And I think that's, when I think about the Twitter case, the kid typing on Twitter, telling everybody that he's sad and depressed, and, you know, I don't feel that he was in the wrong. I don't feel like he was in the wrong with his feelings. I don't think he was wrong by speaking out. I don't think he was in the wrong. And when you say, I don't think anybody cares about me, and you said it 1,000 times and nobody has cared about you, he took the next inevitable step that he felt made sense. Nobody cares, so what does it matter? And then when he does it, everybody all of a sudden cared, right? Oh, we loved him so much and we cared. No, you didn't. You didn't give a shit. And that's a psychopath. The psychopath can't even empathize. I want to just think about my own experiences and my own conversations with people. And coming from Kentucky, I guess it's a good thing because I have such low expectations. But it seems like everybody's sort of, you know, I understand people doing their things and people are busy and have busy lives. But if we were truly a caring, loving, compassionate Christian nation, we wouldn't have homelessness. If we were truly compassionate and loving as people like to pretend that they are, then this kid wouldn't have, you know, shot himself. So I look at a lot of people not having empathy. If somebody would have had empathy for that kid, if somebody would have just said, hey, man, I feel your pain. I'm here for you. I'm here to listen. Well, go ahead. That could change the whole world for him. That could change everything for him. I remember actually, I don't look down on counseling. I think we all counsel each other. And so if you're not getting professional counseling, then you're getting counseling from, you know, your mother, your father, you know, some random asshole that you become friends with because they put you on the school bus together and you're just a kid, so you like everybody. And that's not exactly a great recipe for building strong, budding relationships. So there's another problem I have just with the whole sort of counselor. I've enjoyed counselor relationships. I have a very nuanced perspective, but the idea, if we actually, all of us got together and talked about the, whatever issues we were going through and working with each other until we all got through whatever issues we were going through, then, you know, that would be wonderful. That would be great. That would be what professional psychologists, psychiatrists, people who sit in an office and talk to you about whatever you're thinking or whatever your issues are. And they do so in a professional manner, give their professional opinion. Here's how I look at things. Now, I do have a problem, several problems with that relationship. It feels like a lab rat. It feels like, you know, okay, so what's your problem? Oh, okay, I see this, that, and this, and the other. And they go in thinking that there's, you know, something wrong. When I had a counselor, a really nice woman, who I appreciated. I got what I went looking for there. But, you know, my old man goes ahead and files all these charges against me. The one day that I defended myself, the day that I became a man, the day that I, you know, passed my rite of passage, and it wasn't even, it was a tiff, it wasn't even a fight. He pushed into me, I pushed him back, and he swings at me, and I swing at him, he falls on the ground. Now, the way Marvin Gaye, the dad, because there was junior and senior, the way Marvin Gaye Sr. had dealt with that same situation, old man in front of his wife, just got knocked down by this little bitch boy that he's been treating like a bitch his entire life, who ain't shit, and now he just fell down. He's embarrassed. He's humiliated. And he's in the oppressed realm. He's chosen to be the humiliator. If you're going to be one or the other, you'd rather be the humiliator than the humiliated. And so so I talked to a counselor. I talked to a counselor because I wanted to say, look, if there is anything wrong with me, I'm doing whatever necessary steps I'm doing in order to get the help I need. But apparently nobody has said shit to him. No one can say shit to him. No one says a fucking word to him. And if you want to talk about, you know, the way people react. Hey, I got something crazy. Okay, so there was the Stanford prison experiments. The Stanford prison experiments, there was college kids. They dressed half of them up as prisoners, the other half of them as prison guards. Within a day or two, the prison guards were making the prisoners do push-ups, sit-ups, torturing them, not physically, but making them do all this extra mental, anguish, but it was actually all self-perpetuated. The guy in the experiment wanted to push his authority and power to see how far he could go. He was just surprised that everybody went along with what he was telling everyone else to do. And there was one guy who did a hunger strike. So one guy who said no to the prison guards, I'm not going to do all your obnoxious shit. This is a college experiment. We're all college kids. We all know what's up. We all know what's going on here. And for me to just shut myself down and just be obedient and do all these push-ups because this guy's being an asshole and he's making it seem like because I did something wrong, everybody else has to do push-ups. But everybody did push-ups willingly. And the level that you submit to would be the level of injustice perpetuated upon you. And that's Frederick Douglass says that quote, but that's just a quote I've been tackling over my head, so many times. The level that you submit to is the level of injustice that would be perpetuated upon you. So once that prison guard started getting those prisoners to comply, run around, do this, do that, and the other, once they did it, then the door was open for more abuse and more bullshit to go in. Now, Paulo Freire, he says that people like the relationship of the oppressor and the oppressed. Yeah, it's hierarchical. Yes, both the oppressor and the oppressed are miserable, but it's a arrangement. It's a political organization that they understand. they understand and they believe in it. So if I'm the oppressor, I'm the boss, and you're my slave. Just shut the fuck up, do what I tell you. I don't care about your thoughts, I don't care about your feelings. I'm going to make you into a tool for you to be used for my own benefit. If I'm the oppressed, then I'm saying, oh, okay, I will do all those things, not because I think nothing of myself and that I think that I have no dignity or anything else, but because I love you and I care about you, and I'm going to want to make you happy. I want to make you happy, so I'm going to do what you want me to do. And so they both need that relationship. They need that relationship. One's the boss, one's the bossed. One's the controller, the other one's the controlled. And they understand that, hierarchy. They understand that arrangement. And Paulo Freire says it's a fear of freedom that they want to break out of it. Well, I think that's a disorder. I think that's a problem. When someone wants to oppress you and continue to oppress you, hey, go do this. Now go do that. Go do this. Well, it feels like you just want to control me and you don't really love me. Well, you're being defiant. You have operational defiant disorder. You're the one being an asshole. You're the one running me like a slave. You're the one who is telling me, when someone tells you what to do. I think that's one of the most disrespectful fucking things in the world. People want to be, hey, don't cuss. Don't be cussing. Direct order is one of the most, insulting things in the world. It's not just cussing or saying fuck you or you're a pig. It's saying fuck you ain't nothing, you're a pig, now shut the fuck up and do what I just told you. So it's saying all those things without even saying a cuss word. Pick up my pencil. Go get my pencil, right now. Sit down and do your homework. Ha, ha, ha. I'm the teacher. I just got you to comply. There was a guy, I don't know. I rented for a guy at Iowa Avenue in Louisville, and after the year, I went ahead and, he said he was going to move his son in, and that, our contract was over. And so, me and my roommate worked on making the next steps, see what we was going to do afterwards. And I was moved out. I was moved out by the end of the month, by the contract. We signed a year deal, paid for every month, paid on time every time. Once it got to the end of the year, I picked up and I went, to another place. I didn't comply with what he was ordering me to do. I complied with what I had agreed to in the beginning. And once I had got my stuff moved out, we had another conversation that was about getting the deposit. He had said, ha ha, I got you to get all your stuff out. Like he had done, like it was his will. And ha ha, I got you to do what I wanted you to do. Well, that told me enough. It told me, he was a total prick and didn't give a shit. But also that he was like sort of either making something that was nothing or nothing into something. Or that's what he actually believed, that he had problems getting people out of his houses before, tenants, and usually they fight for a month or two until he can actually get them out. But with me, I had agreed to do what I had agreed to do. I followed the contract, and I could do rules that make sense to me. But that's an oppressor. He was like, ha ha, I got you to do what and I don't know, I think some people are like that. I think some people, we all have a will to power. We all have an oppressor in us. And so whenever, I think there's some people that will stand like this and just to pretend to have authority. If you go up, go get yourself a glass, get a glass of milk, and then they wash that glass of milk out, wash that glass, wash that dish. They'll just sit there and make sure they still have authority over you or try to get authority over you by telling you to do what you're already doing. I remember some really mean girls, mean females, women, who, while I was unloading the truck with another guy, two of us were loading the truck, these two mean women were standing off to the side being like, no, move it there, move it there, move it there, move it there. They had no intention whatsoever of doing a fucking thing, of picking up the finger and helping, but they were going to stand right next to where we all stack the stuff and just give demands. No, put it over there. No, it needs to go there. No, you probably should do it there. Now put it there. And it had nothing to do with making it better, more organized. That conversation could, be a good conversation. But if it's, I'm the boss, you're my bitch, shut the fuck up, you're a bitch-ass slave, I got a problem with that. I have a problem with that. And I don't know who would not have a problem with being a bitch-ass slave. First of all, we're not just malleable pieces of shit. Just go do this, go do that, just because why? Because you told me? Just because you told me. If people did that, if people are being trained to just do as they're told, they're not going to be entrepreneurs. They're not going to have their own ideas. They're not going to be confident in their own path and dancing to the beat of their own drum. They're not going to. And that's one of the biggest, L. Ron Hubbard might be crazy, but William Glasser is not. So L. Ron Hubbard, people can fall for L. Ron Hubbard because a lot of the things that he says is, our society is, there's a lot of things that's broken. If oppression is a problem, then public schools are all oppression all the time. Cops going in, beating the student up for disobeying the teacher, that's exactly how school is. Yeah, there was never a cop there, but all they're doing is just drawing that line more finely detailed. They are state agents being paid by the state, telling your kid to shut up, sit down. If your kid won't shut up and sit down and be a malleable piece of shit, a bitch-ass slave, to do a bunch of work the teacher says to do for free, the very definition of slavery, then a cop is going to come in and beat the shit out of you. That's the inevitable end, I would think, anyways. Teacher takes your cell phone because that's the classroom policy. Even though she took your phone, the cop will arrest you if you say, fuck you, give me my phone back. And you push them down, or you grab a hold of your phone and you put it back in your pocket. If you have to use physical, force, I will do it by force. You're taking my phone, I hand it out for a second, give me my phone back, then they would have gotten in trouble. They would have gotten in trouble for that. And I think that's bullshit. I think that's absolute bullshit to assume that authority figure or an oppressor couldn't do something bad. I think that they're in a power to do bad things by the virtue almost of their seat, by their title, by their office. And that's my problem with psychiatry. My problem with psychiatry is already there's a power imbalance. There's already a power imbalance. They're looking at you like a lab rat. You're sitting there, and there's sort of my conversation with the woman in Spalding University. I'll just talk about that. My counselor, I liked going to her. I appreciated it. It was kind of like a date. She was beautiful, and so I would go to her. I would go to, every week, talk to her about whatever I was thinking, and really I wanted to, I kind of felt like that kid with the Twitter thing. Not suicidal, but wanting to feel connected with society. And I think that, if there were operational defiant disorder, I'd make fun of because that I might be it, because I believe in freedom. And people want to talk about being defiant. Well, yeah, maybe there is a defiant disorder, or maybe that's a little Nelson Mandela. He was defiant for 27 years. Martin Luther King, defiant for how many years? Defiant people are the ones who changed the world. So they were oppositional and they were defiant. So to characterize that as a disorder, that is a person trying to smash your will, trying to smash that wild energy, that soul, that's yearning to breathe free, to smash that which is inside you so you'll be molded to do everything they tell you to do. There's a big problem with that. If you're just being obedient, you're just doing as you're told. You're not actually saying, okay, I'm going to do A and B in order to get C. You're just saying, I'm going to just do whatever this asshole says and comply with them and hope that I don't die, hope that I survive this. And when you want people to make good decisions, then you want people to be able to think about things, think about issues, to be strong about things, to not be a weak little slave, bitch-ass slave. All of Austria, the entire country of Austria, had to bow down to Hitler just because Hitler used bully diplomacy. Just because he was a bully. He got their leader in a room, says, fuck you, your country is my country now. And then the guy capitulated. And every time that Hitler conquered a country, they called it the capitulation. It was when the government either gave up or the government is wiped out. And if the government gave up, they capitulated. But in America, we teach our kids to capitulate as soon as they walk into Head Start, as soon as they walk into kindergarten. And then they can keep on capitulating up until senior year up until college year. So I finished my one story, and then I'll tell you a joke. To finish my story about capitulation. Man, fuck. I lost it. But I will tell you a joke here in a second. My counselor, I liked talking to her because I needed to talk to somebody, and I appreciated it. I appreciated her perspective. I felt like when I needed her, she gave me what I needed, and then I grew past her really quick. Where she failed was when I needed someone to hold my hand to go to court. I needed someone to go hold my hand and say, hey, I like you before, I like you after, everything is going to be okay, to be a witness, to see the shit that I'm seeing, so I don't have to go through the bullshit, just to be a witness, just to, to share the experience. But she couldn't do that. And I felt like that's the perfect thing, to be able to go into court and say, hey, here's a professional person that says I'm not crazy. But she wouldn't do that. And I asked the dean that eventually fucks me over totally if she, had to do that, and they said no, she doesn't have to. But I felt like she should have. Or it was a fake relationship. We're sitting there, she's studying me, we talked about, so we built a bond. I'm sure she, I'm sure she thinks about me. It wasn't her talking about her life too much, but if she did, I would have listened. And her listening was one of the best gifts that she gave me, so of course I would give that back to her. So my story, I was in the middle of a story, but I never finished it. Oh, the Stanford prison experiments, prisoners, prison guards, and the one guy that was doing a hunger strike, he was basically, saying crazy shit. But he was clearly in an oppressive environment, and so he was doing a hunger strike, and they were doing all the push-ups, sort of like Full Metal Jacket, if you saw that, how they treated, I want to say, Leonard. And Leonard was sitting there eating a jelly donut while everybody else was doing push-ups. So for this guy's hunger strike, the prison guards were making everybody else do exercises. And they were blaming it, not on them for making them do it, but for blaming the guy on the hunger strike and saying, see, because he's doing that, this is why we're treating you like that. And they bought it. They believed it. The prisoners started yelling at the one guy who was actually doing something that would have liberated all of them. If you got prisoners, prison guards, this is just an experiment, right? So you're telling these people are prisoners, you're telling these are prison guards, and the prison guards say, you need to do what we say. And then the prisoners say, no, we won't. It ends right there. It stops. But if the prison guards say, do what I tell you, okay, now do it again, now do it again. Well, we don't want to. Well, you've been doing it all the time, now do it again. Okay, I'm sorry. It never stops. The level of injustice, the level that you submit will be the level of injustice that is perpetuated upon you. And the one guy that says, hey, this is a college experiment, let's do a hunger strike, and then we all get out of here. Even then, even in a controlled experiment, when they know that, they're not going to punch him and kill him and beat him up and shit. But the guy says that when he was being forced to do the push-ups, he felt like he was losing his mind. He felt like he was losing who he was, his dignity. He became just an object, a number. And he started saying, I'm losing my mind, and just, but it was a symptom of the oppression. I remember seeing a picture of all the Nazis were laughing at something. That's what I think the Nazis would think was hilarious. Here's prison guards forcing some of the prisoners dumb and weak enough to do what they told them to do, and this guy's sort of losing his mind because if, A, you just want to convince somebody who doesn't want to be convinced of something, their lack of, empathy is fucking bullshit, but he's an oppressor, so that's his role, that's what he wants to do. And so how do you stop an oppressor? What can you do to say to the oppressor who's like, now do this, now do that, now do this? You can get in their face and give them orders until you're both fucking annoyed at the shit, all right? If sometimes because the way people give orders out, it makes me think, man, I wish I didn't fucking know English. Then I'd be like, que pasa? Me go, no sé, me speak no English. And that would get me out of the situation. Then I would have a person who talks for me before the judge, and I give a moment in time to figure out the situation instead of, okay, so what did you do that's wrong? Well, Your Honor, I didn't do nothing wrong. I don't believe you. Guilty. Okay, fuck you. And, hey, you need to not sit at this chair. You need to sit in this chair. Well, fuck off, man. Fuck you. I'm going to sit in this chair. So